Hey guys, I'm Heintje and it's time for the third episode in my Harz mini-series. If you haven't seen any of the previous episodes, let me bring up this animation once again to show you where the Harz is located in Germany. In this episode we'll visit Bikepark Hahnenklee, again named after the village it's located in. Finally parked with lines and features for the more experienced rider. Here, let me show you. Before I show any of the trails, I have to mention the lift. It's slow, really slow. Imagine a slow lift? Well, this one is even slower. But hey, it still beats riding up yourself. Now before I show the so-called A-line, let me first show the Flowline. Even though I don't do it any justice with my riding here. It always takes me some time to get used to the circumstances of the day, slowly building up my confidence in the available grip.
Oh, daar kun je zo gappen.
I'm sure this line can be fun if you can carry some speed through the turns. Unfortunately, I didn't ride this line later on the day, although not that unfortunate. It was that other lines provided more fun. The bottom part of this trail was the part I enjoyed the most, not so much steering required and some airtime. At the start of the Flowline you could have seen me pass some North Shore features. Let's go check them out. The first one is rollable, the next one is already a drop. Not a big drop, yet. The progression curve on this line is big. From rollable to 1 meter plus drops into root carpets. All within a few features. I'm sure this line can be so much fun if, and that's a big if, you take the time to learn yourself the lines and features. I would have loved to give this one a couple more runs. Unfortunately, and this time really unfortunately, I had a mechanical. Remember that flat tire I had in my last video? It seemed the plugs were holding up. So lazy as I am, I didn't replace the tire. Something that came to bite me. The plugs were coming out and started leaking again. So instead of giving this line a few more tries, I had to replace my tire. This time I wanted to do it right, so I, hopefully, didn't have any issues the rest of the trip. Only it takes a bit of time to replace the tire and set it up tubeless as well. Especially on a parking lot. I got it fixed and spoiler alert, the new tire held the rest of the weekend. Now with air in my tires again, it was time to get my tires in the air, aka riding the Freeride / A-line trails. The two lines are more or less just one line with some optional gap jumps. Again, a trail you have to scout out first to see what features you can ride and therefore what lines work for you. Maybe it was because of the extreme dry conditions, but it was also a bit of a challenge to find out the correct speed for a lot of jumps. That brings me to the main feature of this line, or more a line of features. A long line of jumps, slowly building up. It starts with a bunch of tables, even on an off jump, until you get to a big and intimidating wooden step down, followed up by a couple of gap jumps, to end it with a hip jump. It took me a couple of tries, every time clearing more jumps, except that hip jump it is. It was hard to judge the speed. I'm not that familiar with hip jumps, the lips look kinda kicky, all excuses. It's probably not that hard, but I'm sure we're also familiar with how mental mountain biking can be. At least now I have a reason to come back here one day, besides the North Shore line of course. At the bottom section, the difference between the two options gets huge. The Freeride line gets pretty boring, just a way to get you down. The A-line option gets truly next level, a series of gap jumps, and why not, also with suboptimal run-ins and run-outs. Again, something I might have to come back for one day. Of course, Ben was kind enough to show us, and with that show you as well, how it's done. Hell, he even makes it look easy.
Zo soepel hè?
Back to the top for the next lines, roots and downhill. Again, a set of lines with so many options that you really have to scout first. You'll have to, you can also just follow a friend and see what happens. Would expect that the third drop in a row all of a sudden has a gap. Thankfully I could shorten the needed distance by jumping to the left, only this sets you up terrible for the turn you jump into. Something I try to improve on subsequent runs. As you might know, I'm not that good at cornering, and I suck at jumping into them. Here it led to an almost crash. The only reason it wasn't a full crash was due to the double crown fork. I could really feel my bars turning and I was sure I was gonna go OTB. But then the bars couldn't turn further, my front wheel gripped and I rode it out. Next feature on the line is truly insane, a drop. Now the drop itself might not be that bad. Sure, you need a bit of speed to make it to the landing, a nice shaped landing that is. The insane part comes from the surface of the landing, really loose grit. Combine that with the speed you need and gain, and you know you won't be able to brake much before hitting the next section. A section that is already a challenge to ride down for most riders, and that's with controlled speed. Now imagine entering this part at full speed. Like I said, truly insane. But of course, in a park with this many line options, there is an alternative line. If you like the trails in Braunlage, you're gonna love this one. It's fast and tacky, until you eventually reach the combined ending of most of the trails here. Let's go back to the top and address the next trail, the so-called Racetrack. A technical trail with some small features, mainly drops. This trail is really fun. It has enough line choice to give you a bit of freedom, but not so much to overwhelm you with it, unlike some of the other trails here. The only thing that doesn't make sense to me is the size of the features. Is it me, or would you expect bigger features on a racetrack like this? I feel the downhill line would make for a better race than this line. But as you might know, I'm not that much of a racer. I'm just here to enjoy the riding, so let's do just that. That is until you exit the woods. Here you find the one and only big feature of the line, a very decent sized drop. Before I get to that, let me first show the save option. On the left it's just a steep roll in, which eventually gets you to the same spot as most trails here. Time to hit the drop. When checking it out on foot it looked like a slow speed drop, so that's how I approached it. I made it to the landing, but it felt quite rough. Nothing my bike couldn't handle though. On the next run my friend wanted to tow in, so I gave him one. Again, I approached fairly slow, not too slow to not make it. Now looking back at it, I don't know why we hit the drop with such a low speed. The landing is obviously long enough to land way deeper, and more speed allows you to push the bike down, making the landing smoother. Probably. One disadvantage of this drop is that the line just ends after it. The only option you have is to continue on the last section of the Enduro line. Enduro meaning there are a couple of uphill sections in the line, just like how the slow lift beats climbing a fire road, a trail with some uphill parts beats descending a fire road. Back at the top there's one more line I have to show. Yeah, you guessed it, the full Enduro line. Another technical line, this time with even less man-made features. It has some fun sections and some uphill sections. Again, a trail way more fun on a trail bike. However, it wasn't that bad on the downhiller, at least the first time around. During my second run I enjoyed it way less. The energy needed to keep moving on some sections really came at the cost of fun on other sections. Anyway, let me conclude the video while I show more of this trail. Bikepark Hahnenklee is overall a great and fun park. It will take you a couple of runs to scout and try some lines, but once you found the lines that works for you, it's great. It offers a challenge for almost everyone, without being too overwhelming for most riders. One thing that annoys the fuck out of you is the slow lift. It's not that hard to get down twice as fast as the uplift took you up the mountain. However, at the end of the day you can have done plenty of runs, leaving you with a satisfied feeling. And like I said, it still beats riding up the mountain yourself. Out of the 4 parks we rode this weekend, I would rank this one second, only after Racepark Schulenberg, but that's something for my next video. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that video when it comes out. If for some reason you don't want to see that video, please let me know in the comments why. Well, with that I've come to the end of the video. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you back for my Schulenberg or any other of my videos. Houdoe. By the way, have fun riding. What's the point in riding if you don't have fun?